Hi, my name's Steve, and on behalf of myself and the entire Rushcutters health team, I want to welcome you to our member rewards night. Tonight, we're really fortunate to have a good friend of mine as guest speaker, Kylie Ryan, my mind coach. Kylie Ryan has a background in human psychology. She's someone that's also been on an amazing weight loss journey herself, losing 30 kilos in her 20s. And she's someone that's actually spent a lot of time in the fitness industry, helping gyms and fitness participants to form a better relationship around food and exercise. Often, all of us have absorbed a certain opinion or sort of limiting beliefs through the household that we grow up in, or potentially from what a teacher or someone has said. And these things actually impact on our decisions that we make in these days. So really excited today, not only to help learn a little bit more about our psychology and the things that help us to make good and bad decisions, but also to learn a framework that can help ensure that we spend more time on the healthy decision side. Please put your hands together for Kylie Ryan.
So firstly, I guess the kind of the modus operandi of the speech is about how to get more of what you want. So I'd love to hear, like, before we get started, what are you here for? Like, what brought you here? What's your goal? What do you want to achieve? What's brought you here? Is it weight loss? Is it fitness? Is it eating better? Is it something else entirely? Give me a bit of a...
Eating better and giving yourself and exercise.
Yeah, more easily, more consistently. Yeah, eat better. And what would be the outcome of that?
The outcome would be great health.
Great health. Yeah.
And a great mindset.
And a great mindset. Yeah. Nice. Amazing. Who else? Who's got a goal? Like, what are you here for? What do you want out of this? Because then I can make it appropriate. Staying healthy as you get older. Yeah. So health is a big one. That's not for me, yes. Don't move it, you lose it. Yep, I like it. Anything else? Any like big goals or anything kind of different that are most people here for great health? Better health? Better mobility, yeah, amazing. Yeah, incredible. And so, are you doing the things that will lead to better mobility? I mean, you guys all look pretty fit and healthy. I think it's like you've got the job done. All right, come on in. Okay, so I'm super honoured to be here. My husband is an old friend of Steve's, and as he said, I went through my own kind of weight loss journey. So, you know, I've now coached for 20 years and thousands of clients, and you know, was on the morning TV show with success stories and things like that. So it's pretty incredible to think where my fitness journey kind of led me in my life. The first time I walked through the gym as probably when I was about 18, and I was like really overweight from just puberty and my parents' divorce and eating too much. And then I went on a European holiday where I drank way too much Baileys. I drank it like it was milk. And you know where that leads to quite wide thighs. and so it was really quite a difficult time for me in that kind of early 20s period. And so I still remember that girl that was really insecure about herself, really hating her body, really, you know, upset by a lot of different things that was just kind of squashed down inside, and a lot of stress that I was kind of holding inside. And putting food on top of, really. It's like squash down your feelings and put some food on top, and or wine, or whatever it is, your pleasure of choice, and then just keep going. Who's ever done that? Been a bit stressed and then reached for the fridge. Right? All of us. And that's
sometimes it's also the opposite. Like in my case, I would
stop eating. So stress kind of just lose your appetite. Wow. Going the opposite way. It's not healthy, right? Because you're so hungry. You're so hungry and your body's starved for calories. So this is a common human problem. We all have bodies, we all need to eat. Unlike any other addiction where you could go, okay, I'm never going to smoke again, I'm never going to drink again, I'm never going to, I don't know, whatever it is, X, Y, Z. You've still got to eat. Everyone's still got to eat, everyone's still got to drink, everyone's still got to move around. And so this becomes one of the things that we need to learn how to actually manage within ourselves. Welcome, thanks for coming. And so I'd love to share with you tonight just a couple of simple models that might help you to think about things a bit differently in how you eat. Would that be helpful? I'd love to make it interactive. If you have questions or something that doesn't make sense or you'd like to know, please yell it out. Okay, so let's get into it. So we have goals in our life. Each and every one of us, we've got dreams that we want to achieve at every age and every stage. There's things that we want. And so what I like to think about is, and really where I've made my living, is in this difference between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. Because consciously, we want our goals. But have you ever wanted a goal, set a plan for a goal, set up a system of behaviours that you need to do to achieve the goal, and then not done the plan? Or done something completely opposite to the plan, right? Is that? Everyone. And this is not just in health. Like, yes, I'm going to obviously apply it to health because that's what we're here for, but these models apply to every aspect of our lives, right? The same models can be applied to your relationships, to your business, to your, managing teams or growing your business or getting a promotion or, so all of those things. So these goals that we have in life are multidimensional. We're going to talk about health today because that's what we're about. So if you have this conscious goal to eat better, exercise more regularly, have better mobility, better flexibility, great health, you might have that conscious goal, but sometimes you don't follow through on it, right? We've all just talked about that. And why does that happen? Why do we not do the things that we want to do, that we say that we want to do? It seems bizarre, but it can be pretty easily explained with this difference between our conscious and our unconscious minds. And this is a pretty standard metaphor, but it's very useful. So if you think about the iceberg, the conscious mind is just about 5% of your brain power, let's just call it that in layman's terms, right? Your ability to motivate you and to direct your actions. Your conscious mind accounts for about 5% of your behaviours, of your actions, of what you do. 95% is run by your automatic unconscious mind, right? And so your unconscious mind is all of your beliefs, all of your values, all of your cultural conditioning, all of your upbringing, all of your past is all kind of stored in here in a big soup of all of your memories and your dreams and your hopes and your fears, and all of it just kind of mishmashed in there. And it's hard to navigate. And we don't know what's going on. It's really under the surface. That's unconscious. We're not conscious of it. That's by definition, right? And so one of the fathers of modern hypnosis, Milton Erickson, who is an incredible human being, he said that clients that come for this kind of work are only ever clients because they're out of rapport with their own unconscious mind. And so the work that I do really is helping people to get to know the parts of themselves that they don't even know are in there, right? And the weird and wild thing is that even though this seems like a big kind of unconscious soup of like murky water that you can't navigate, there are systems and structures and processes that exist down there. We just need to know how to navigate them. And so consciously you might be going for your goal, but unconsciously there might be beliefs around this that might stop you from taking action on your goal. So let's take this mobility example, right? You want to do the actions to have more flexibility, more mobility, stay, in health and fitness all the way through your life. But what beliefs might be there that could hold you back from doing the actions necessary to achieve that? What are some of the things that you say to yourself that you might go, it usually comes out in the justification right before you don't do the thing that you know you need to do. I can do it tomorrow. Yeah? I'll just do it tomorrow. Just this once. What's that? I drink because I'm French, right? So here we go. It's an identity. I love it. I drink because I'm French. Oh my God, I love that. Yes. I mean, of course. Salad, right? Then we grow up to get rid of the water. So think about what are some of the things that you say in your own mind. They'll be offhand, just kind of casual things that you say to yourself, like, I can do it tomorrow, just this one won't hurt. They're the things that are closer to the surface of the unconscious that you can kind of peer down and go, oh yeah, that's in there. That's one of the things. They're the kind of surface level things. At the deeper layer, there's even kind of deeper, darker layers down here of like the murky waters deep down, where you might have a belief like, oh, I can do it tomorrow, but maybe you've got a past history where a parent got really sick, or someone in your family developed some disorder, and so it's like, oh, it's in my family. It's like, oh, it's just age, I'm just going to degenerate anyway, these types of things that might be kind of in the deeper layers. And of course there is like an acceptance of reality that we need to come to terms with, and there's so much that we can do to keep ourselves vibrantly alive, right? And vibrantly alive in our spirits. Here's one of who's here thinking about and wanting to shift some weight specifically, or wanting to change their body shape in some way, whether gain more muscle, lose a little bit of fat. Who's got a goal like that? Yeah? Okay, cool. So what would happen? Here's a question. What's a possible negative consequence of achieving your ultimate body shape? What's a possible negative consequence of achieving your ultimate body shape? You're doing the right thing to take the weight off? You need to do the right thing to take the weight off. Yeah, you've got to be, and what would you call that? Do the right thing and learn about those things. So there's a right-wrong frame here, right? So if you've got I need to be doing the right thing and not the wrong thing, that can be an issue, because then you're polarizing it into black and white. Or it's like, oh, I have to be so strict to get that, fit, healthy body. Or sometimes there can be even deeper layers. Like this was one of my issues, so I can share it from my own personal experience. But one of the things because I put on maybe 30 kilos when I was like drinking Baileys and having a good time as, young 20s. I really ruined my 20s. My husband is like, my 20s were the best. And I was like, yeah, I really I didn't really make the best of them. I kind of went down a different path. I feel like my best is still to come. So in my 20s, I was pushing 100 kilos. I was pretty close to that, like really chubby, had short, bright red, spiky hair, was quite depressed, although very vivacious and kind of optimistic and bubbly, the life of the party, giant bazungas. And, right? And for me, the idea that losing weight and getting even more slimmer would actually be a negative, because I actually got quite a lot of attention just the way I was. And I thought, wow, if I get slim and healthy and really attractive, I might not be safe. Right? As a young girl, I was like, God, you know, I might not be safe. And there's a family history, you know, of dodgy things happening to the women in my family, you know, so that was down there in the deep, dark depths of my subconscious. Wow, if I become more attractive and more, you know, out there and people take notice of me, maybe I won't be safe. So sometimes, that was for me, maybe it's not for you, I hope not, but sometimes there can be little things in there that are like hooks that keep us stuck in these patterns. Because what I did was, let's say here was my 100 kilos. And so I wanted to be, you know, in size 8 jeans, 60 kilos, kind of like I am now. And so I went down to about 90, and that felt good. And I went and worked at a gym, and I was like, I'm going to change my life. I'll surround myself with fitness people. That'll sort me out. And I went and got a job at a gym, and I did all of the healthy things. And then I just kind of fluctuated between 80 and 90. And I would lose a bit, and then I would go, oh, I deserve this cupcake. I deserve this glass of wine. I'm going so well. And then I would just put a bit back on. And then I go, oh, God, like fat again, hate myself. Oh, all right, I've got to... Is anyone familiar with that little yo-yo, the little yo-yo experience, right? And whatever it is, like there's a plateau of, you know, that may be a weight that you just can't get below. It's like some kind of invisible ceiling in your mind somewhere, or the scales, where it just won't go below that weight no matter what you do. And so this kind of backwards and forwards, and it wasn't until I discovered NLP, neuro-linguistic programming and coaching and all this mindset stuff that I realised that I actually had a negative consequence on both sides. And so I was running between, oh, I don't want to be so fat that I hate myself and just want to get liposuction every day and like doing these kind of, oh, I just want to cut this bit off and that type of thing. Or I'd kind of lose weight and get slimmer, and then I go, ooh, hang on. Ooh, this is like it's activating some other fear, some other sense of danger that's hidden in my unconscious on the other side. And so I'm kind of running between these two dangers and keeping myself stuck in the middle. Does that resonate at all? So when you think about your stuff, might not be as extreme as mine, it was my example, but maybe it's like, well, if I wanted to be more mobile and have perfect health as I get older and older, maybe I have to be more strict than I want to be. Maybe I won't be able to go and, you know, have a glass of wine with my friend and do what I want to do. I'll have to be like on a diet or eating perfectly. I won't be able to have my glass of wine. What would it mean about your identity if you weren't drinking wine? You know? So these types of things that can kind of go, oh, well, who would I be if I achieve this? Does that make sense?
Kylie, we've had a couple of examples with members.
Yeah.
One member shared that
I get hot now.
fear, like a negative consequence
Yeah.
of getting in shape and sort of feeling how she wanted to, was that her partner might feel intimidated, and that might
This is a
create
big
some
one.
friction.
This is a big one.
Another member say was reluctant to sort of do too many weights because her father had sort of gone overboard with
Gone
weight
too much.
and had issues with like
Joints or
injury
something.
It's like
So it's like, yeah, I want this, but there's a negative consequence of doing the thing that I want. Sometimes there can be like There can be weird things in your it's all sorts of weird things. It's the thing about your unconscious is it doesn't need to be true for it to scare you into changing your behaviour. That's the thing, right? Sometimes people might be like, "Oh, I don't want to get too slim and healthy because then I won't be able to connect with my partner because what we really like doing is eating pizza and watching TV together." And so then we won't be able to do that. If they don't come with me on the journey, then maybe it'll cause us to grow apart in some way. Yeah?
What if you don't know why you sabotage yourself?
Well, that's it, yeah. Well, we don't know because it's unconscious, right? So I'm just pointing out what might be in there, And so without going into deep therapy sessions, it's worth asking yourself that question. It's like, what's a potential negative about achieving my goal? And just see what comes up, right? It's like, oh, maybe I would have to be too strict, or maybe it would affect how I relate to my partner, or maybe I just feel like I don't want to be sore I don't want to have muscle soreness all the time, and I want to feel limber. Sometimes there can be, underlying things in there as well, but what happens is I want you to become aware of what you say to yourself right before you do the things that are kind of against the goal, because that's the little trigger, right? So I want you to be aware of right before you have the glass of wine, right before you message your trainer. I don't ever do this, but right before you message your trainer and going, I can't come in today, I need to cancel my session, whatever it is that you say to yourself right before that, that's something to investigate. It's like, oh, I don't feel like it, or oh, I can't be bothered, those types of things, right? And so that's a sign that there's something in there. There's something in there to investigate. So let's flip it around, because that's pretty clear. So now we get to this one. So I've given you a copy of this, so you don't need to write it down, but let's just unpack it so that you can understand it. So you'll notice, I want you to notice two things. We have pleasure here and pleasure here. And we have pain here and we have pain here. And so this is the internal world, and this is your external choices, your behaviours, right? So these are the things you choose to do. So your external pleasure, this is the wild part about nature, right? It's got this homeostasis vibe happening. So our pleasure is always tied to our pain, and our pain is always tied to our pleasure. And so the external pleasure we've got here, I like to call this model the donuts and dumbbells model, right? We've got our external pleasure, donuts, fast food, wine. Give me some more external pleasures. What are your favourites? What are your favourite external pleasures? Sweets? Yes. Sweets.
Hamburgers.
What's that? Hamburgers. Oh yes, delicious.
Sleeping in.
Yeah. Sleep.
Pizza.
Sleep in. Pizza. Let's get them all on here. What else? Think about yours. Wine. We've got that on there. Wine. What? More wine. Even more wine. Oh, sorry. Okay, we'll write it again. Wine. More wine. Duh. I love it. More wine and more wine. Of course. What else? What else are pleasures that you might not notice are pleasures? Excessive caffeine. Yes. Caffeine. Yes, coffee, tea. What about this, the latest pleasure of all humans in the last decade? Scrolling, watching videos, like, my husband calls it the touching stone. In years to come, people will go like cavemen, like, why were they always touching their touching stones? Anyway, so scrolling, sleeping in, like anything where it's like it's an instant gratification. It's something that it gives you an instant pleasure. It's, oh yes, hamburger, delicious. Shopping, yes, the instant hit of dopamine. Yes, beautiful. So we've got that. It makes sense. What happens when you do these things? How do you feel? You feel good at the start, and then how do you feel after that? You feel guilty. Yes, you feel guilty. What else? Remorse, disappointed. I mean, maybe not if you've just had a coffee. I mean, let's be real. But if you're really going on a wine, more wine type of thing, there might be some kind of remorse, headache. Yes. So this is the thing: is that headache, pain. You'll see it there on your little sheet. Pain can happen on all of these different levels. It can be mental pain of like, oh, why did I do that? I'm breaking my diet again. How am I going to tell my personal trainer that I blew out on the weekend and drank too much wine again? Could be mental pain. Could be emotional pain, right? Could be emotional pain. It could be stress. It could be not related to this particular, but just some other stress that you've got in your life, right? Mortgage, work stress, like pandemic, anyone? I mean, that's enough stress for all of us, right? The economy, politics, like, geez, let's not even get into that. But that's pain, right? Worry, stress, anxiety. How's my job going to be with robots taking over? Like, what's going on here? So all of these things are pains. So it can be mental, emotional. It can be physical, like the headaches. When you have too many donuts, you also get the too many calories that go with it. Digestion, right? You might have IBS, you might have, gut issues. You've got all those extra calories. Relationships. Oh, yes, the joy and pain of life. Yeah. Relationship, exactly. Throw it out. So these are all the pains that we can feel. And then it can be spiritual pain as well. It could be like, I'm having an existential crisis because I've just retired, or I've just sold my business, or I've just got a promotion, or I've just got a demotion, and maybe my amazing assistant has just left, and now I don't know how to run my business without her. Like whatever it is, there can be all sorts of different things going on in here. That's life. But there's all these different levels of pain that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And they're just the things that are at the surface. And then we've got the things that are below the surface, the kind of deep part as well. So there can be, statistically speaking, lots of people in this room have experienced some kind of trauma, right? Just statistically. There's stuff. Someone's had some kind of abusive situation. Someone's had an argument. Someone's, broken up with someone they've never spoken to again. Someone's estranged from their parents. There's all sorts of stuff going on. And so that's down here, this kind of deep existential stress. And then there's childhood wounds and all of this other stuff as well. So this is all in here. And so I like to think of this like your stress bucket, right? This is your little stress bucket of all the stresses that you're carrying, right? And there's like the dredgy ones down the bottom that are the kind of things that happened years and years ago that you maybe never fully got over. And then there's the kind of more recent ones that just kind of pile on top, and it just kind of layers and layers and layers up. Do you relate? Right? So when you're feeling internal pain, what do? Back to the wine and the donuts, right? Like, yippee-ki-yay, back to the external pleasure. Oh, I'm feeling stressed. Let's go to the fridge. That's always got an answer that's going to survive, help me, right? Let me go to the fridge and see what's in that little top shelf where I keep all my little treats, right? And so that's the cycle. That's the internal pain pleasure cycle. So let me give you a rundown of a day in the life of survival cycle, and let's see how many things you recognise. Don't sleep very well because your back hurts. Or back pain, this is a good one. Who's got some back pain? right? Some kind of back pain, injury, something going on there. So some kind of pain that you can't sleep very well. So you wake up tired, you haven't rested well. What do you go for? Coffee, right? Coffee, tea. Maybe you don't eat super well because you've woken up late, because you slept in, because you didn't sleep very well. And so you maybe grab a croissant on the way to work. And so you have your short-term pleasure, and then you get to work and you haven't eaten well, and so your brain's a bit foggy, and so then you might have another coffee, and then you've got too much caffeine in your body, then you get jittery, you're like, oh my God, I've got to eat something quick. And so you go down and get a burger, because burgers are good when you're tired and you don't have enough energy. And then you've got all of that gut upset in your body from the burger, and then you try and do your work, and you get some work done, of course, because you're a competent, efficient person. You do what you need to do and you just push through, but then it takes a toll. And so you come home and then you might have some more wine and a bit exhausted from a hard day, so you might just eat some takeaway and then watch some TV and then fall asleep, and then this, bing, 6 a.m, the cycle starts all over again. Anyone recognize any of those things? Let's have hands up if you recognize any of those things, right? Look around. Everybody recognizes himself in this, because this is a human survival pattern. Every single one of us. So what I want you to take from that is, this isn't something to be ashamed of. This isn't a personal failing of your moral compass or your, right? Or your values or your worth as a human being. This is just a regular survival pattern that every single human with a biological body and a nervous system is wired to do, right? Yeah.
A lot of people reach to medication.
Medication, yes. Yes, headache pills, right? Medication. Over-medicating, great catch there. It's very easy to just pop a Nurofen, have a Bex and a good lie down. Yep. Right? Where is the Bex these days? Have a Valium, mother's little helper. Right? So, this is our survival cycles. Let me check for time, because, okay, we're good. Okay. So this is our survival cycle. It's short term. Right? It's short-term pleasure, short-term survival, short-term solutions. And you just end up it's a bit of a downward spiral, because the more you do it, the more the stress just builds up. You've got more calories that you're carrying around. You've got more stress on your body. You've got more weight on your joints. You've got more, remorse in your mind and in your heart, and more beating yourself up of oh God, why did I do that? So I went well down this path, well down there. There's drugs and all sorts of crazy things that was in there. So when you do this survival cycle, it's it only ends in tears. It only ends in tears. But there is a way out. So what happens when you're I've had enough, I'm going to do something about this? Who's had that moment? I mean, obviously you have, because you're here, right? You're here, but there was some moment that caused you to go, hang on, I've got to do something about this. Maybe it was something small, right? Where you just kind of caught yourself when it was just at the start and you just nip it in the bud. Or maybe you'd a bit of a slow learner like me, and it took you to get to the bottom of the barrel before you went, oh, you know what? I'm going to come back up again. I'm going to be better for it. Grief can take you there. Yes, that is one of the most horrific pains that we can deal with, right? Grief. And nobody gets a pass on that one, right? Grief is going to hit you at some point. Grief smashed me a couple of years ago. I was doing well, and then a friend died from cancer, and I was just a mess for 6 months. It's you can be doing really well, and then some curveball comes out of nowhere, and you're right down in the pain again, And so this is a part of life. It's a part of the human experience. So let's all take a deep breath, because I'm stirring the pot here deliberately. So let's just all take a deep breath. Right, very intentional, very like breathe as deep as you can. And whatever this has stirred up, whether it's a little bit or a lot, you're not alone. Everybody in here has something, right? Everybody. That's okay. We're all human. We've all got some pain that we're dealing with. So what happens when you're in that pain and you go, okay, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to make a change. You like pull yourself up by your bootstraps or your socks and go, I'm going to go join a gym. I'm going to get some help here for this. I'm going to go on a diet. Maybe it's a diet. Who's ever been on a diet? Right? Here's the fun diet cycle. And now I know that Steve doesn't teach this kind of nonsense, but there have been a lot of nonsense diets in the media over the years. And so the kind of extreme calorie control, like the lemon detox diet or the, super calorie restriction diet, right? Like only eat like just a tiny bit and then leave the rest. And so when you're in pain and you choose the thing that you might look over at, one of these trainers and you go, look, these people, what's up with these people that seem to naturally just want to go to the gym, that seem to just naturally be athletic and eat the right things and never have to like struggle like us mere mortals having to struggle with this, right? And so you might look across at these people who seem to be thriving and go, I want a bit of that. I want a bit of that thriving. I want a bit of that joy and that mobility and that vibrancy that I see there. And so you go, okay, I'm going to willpower myself. This is willpower. Taking your pain and going, enough is enough. I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to get this under control. I'm going to sort this out. And so you willpower yourself. And so even though all of this pain is still bubbling below the surface in your stress bucket, you go, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to eat really well. I'm going to never eat chocolate again. I'm never going to drink wine again. And I'm going to do all the right things. Who's ever said something like that? Or even thought it, right? I'm never going to drink again, ever. Said every hungover person. And so we go external pain. And so how long does this last? Where you go, I'm going to be perfect, I'm going to do it right, I'm going to do everything perfectly. How long does that willpower last? 24 hours, just to gnaw off the hair of the dog. 24, maybe it's 24 hours, maybe it's a New Year's resolution, right? It lasts to maybe January the 2nd, maybe. So it's like 24 hours, maybe maybe a week if you're lucky, right? And you've really got a lot of strength in your force of mind. And then what happens? You give up. You might get on the scales. You go, okay, I've dieted for 24 hours now. All right, I'm going to step on the scales. Surely I've lost a kilo. Right? Surely I've lost a kilo. And then you're like, oh my God, I haven't lost anything. And then you get on what do I have permission to swear here? Permission approved, all right, we're all adults. Then we get on what I affectionately call the fuck it train to ice cream town, right? The fuck it train is like, fuck it, this isn't even working anyway. And you go right back to the pleasure that you were denying yourself as like, no, I'm never going to have that again. I'm never going to have the ice cream. I'm never going to have the wine. And so this is the stuff it, right? I'm going to go across from here. I'm not going to do these boring, willpower, annoying, strict things anymore. I'm going to go back to doing what's comforting and enjoyable because, God damn it, I deserve it. And I've been working really hard for 24 whole hours. I've been dieting for 24 hours. I deserve a muffin, right? So that's the stuff at Train. Who recognises that in themselves? Right? So now that you see that, and so then you do the thing, and maybe you have an ice cream binge, or maybe you drink some wine, or go have a burger or whatever, and then you're right back in here again. It's like, oh God, I'm back to square one again with extra calories on the side. And so this is the willpower stuff it cycle, right? And I did this for so long. Oh my God, this is the yo-yo diet cycle, right? It's like I'll be strict, I'm gonna do everything right, and then stuff it. And then, oh God, I'm back to where I started. And so that, people can lose years in that kind of nonsense. And so what I realized was that what was actually driving that, what's the kind of underpinning strategy of that, is that I wasn't dealing with this pain. And so this pain just kind of kept dragging me back, you know, because there's only so much pain you can endure, right? If you're not sleeping well, there's only so many 5 a.m. alarm clocks that you're not going to snooze through, right? It's like if you're exhausted, you're not going to be able to keep the stamina up. So that's a problem. That's a real problem. And it's a problem in our society because there's so much chronic stress in our society. Like, don't even get me started. All the things that I mentioned before, I don't need to tell you how stressful our modern society is. It's crazy. So what we need to do is not this, although it's tempting, but I want to warn you away from this kind of, this is all or nothing thinking, right? This is all or nothing, like, oh, I don't want to be like the loser that I used to be. I'm going to be organised and disciplined and do all the right things. And so this is just, I'm pointing out, maybe acting out a little bit for comedic emphasis and sticking power in your mind, this cycle, so that when a little inkling of it starts to happen, you can recognise it. Right? That's all this is about, is so that you can recognise it. Because while this is playing out, guess where this pattern lives normally? This pattern has now gone from down here unconscious, we have now made this conscious. Hooray! Guess what happens when something that was once unconscious becomes conscious? You have choice. You can now choose whether you want to do that old unconscious pattern or if you want to do something different. Right? The minute that you know about a pattern that has been running unconsciously, you regain the power of choice to do something different. And so that's a huge win. Every time you have a realization, you're like, I'm running that pattern. But you'll have it, right? This week, I promise you, there will be some time where you will do one of those things and you will go, that's what she was talking about. I'm doing that thing. And I want you to celebrate that. I don't care if you're halfway through a burger while you have that realization. I want you to celebrate that because you have just made an unconscious behavior conscious. And the minute that you do that, you reclaim a part of your power. You reclaim your agency and your ability to do something different. So,
I love this sort of model.
Right? Isn't it wild?
I think we're so good at being hard on ourselves. So
So
good inside the gym where most of the week's been great to have one meal that's a little bit out, and it's more the overreaction.
It's the overreaction
that becomes the problem rather than the actual incident.
Let's put it down here. Self-critic. That one really fills up the pain bucket, right? Because then it's not only the behavior or the stress, it's also all of the negative nonsense on top that you're like, oh, I'm such a loser now. Oh, why didn't I do it? Right? Why did I do those things? Right? All of that nonsense that happens in our heads where we be mean to ourselves like a drill sergeant, thinking that it's going to like beat you into submission or beat you into doing the right thing. But anyone in the army right now? Are you in the army right now?
Self-criticism.
Yes.
If somebody else gives you criticism, it's much better, I think.
It's much better if someone else does it.
If you keep telling me, you look really old, you look tired, you look fat, you look this.
It could be a motivating force.
And you start thinking about it, right?
Well, you make a good point. You make a good point.
I think that works very well.
I think it depends on the person. I think it depends on the person. It depends on the person that's hearing the criticism, and it depends on who the person is that's giving the criticism and their intention. There's a lot of factors in there. But yes, it can be motivating for sure. So the challenge is when we like drive ourselves into the ground with self-critic. Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I really appreciate it. So the challenge is this self-critic, and the self-critic is more likely to make us want to do these extreme actions and extreme behaviours and go, I'm going to change it all, right? Because it's like, I'm such a loser, I need to change everything. Like, no, you're not. Duh, you're a beautiful human being with intrinsic worth. Who's got kids? I've got 2. Remember the moment when your child when you first like pushed out your child or got your child in your arms or held them and you're like, holy moly, I have a miracle that now lives outside of like my heart now beats outside my body. Oh, how precious are they? Little babies, they're so precious. Now here's the thing. Can a baby do anything? No. According to the economy, they're pretty useless. I mean, maybe the parents could buy lots of stuff, but them themselves, no buying power. Can't do anything, can't contribute to the household in any way, can't achieve anything. Does that make them useless? Of course not. Of course not, right? Somewhere along the line, we go from seeing a beautiful little baby and going, oh, of course, they're intrinsically precious and worthy and valuable, even though they're just pooping and screaming and sleeping. Somewhere in that early childhood stage, we go from our child is intrinsically worthy to going, oh, they need to get a grade to be worthy, or they need to achieve kick the goal, or they need to keep their room clean, or they need to XYZ to be worthy. And that's a false conditioning that probably all of us have endured to some degree, right? In the schooling system, in just being brought up, the difference between the worth of a human being, which is intrinsic, gets confused with the idea of achievement and the success and like getting the accolades for achieving or not achieving. And so then we start to go, oh, I didn't achieve the grade, so I'm no good. Or, maybe mum was busy because she was running herself ragged trying to do a million things and she couldn't look at my painting. And so instead of thinking, oh, mum's just busy because she's doing all these different things because I'm a kid, I'm like, oh, mum couldn't look at my painting, so therefore my painting is no good and I'm unworthy. Right? It's heartbreaking. Oh my. To participate is to succeed. Yes. So this is the thing. We want to do small steps. What, Steve?
So with this diagram,
worth.
Right, we're trying to go from the left to the right.
We're trying to go this way.
A lot of us have identified stuff that we probably, patterns.
Yes.
So part of it's awareness that we're all probably going through. We don't have to beat ourselves up.
We don't have to beat ourselves up.
Any other tips or strategies?
Absolutely. How do we get more time on the right? Great question, how do we get more time on the right? Well, firstly, this is a part of it, is recognising that even just at a mental level, right, at a cognitive level, recognising that you are worthy regardless of whatever you've done or not done, whatever you weigh, however much money is in your bank balance, whether you're in debt or not, whether your company's successful or not, or whatever, whatever metric you currently are saying makes you worthy or not worthy, you're worthy. Gold star of approval, just like the baby fresh out of the womb, you're worthy. You're still worthy, you're always worthy. So that's a good starting point, is just actually going, oh, hang on, I am worthy. And so then we can start to participate and go, well, if I'm worthy and my whole sense of self doesn't depend on this one thing, I can now take a risk of participating and having a go at it. And so instead of going internal pain to external pain and pushing ourselves to do the meal prep and the perfect food and the perfect things, I want you to start think about self-compassion and kindness to yourself, right? Would you be as mean as you are in your own mind on those mean days, in those mean moments? Would you be as mean as you are to yourself to anybody else? No. Some lucky people do it to their spouse as well, but right, sometimes our spouse gets like the sharp end of the wedge, right? But mostly we wouldn't be half as mean to anybody else as we are to ourselves. So I want to encourage you, it seems silly. It seems like, duh, like of course, be kind to yourself. That's obvious. But this is transformational. When you can actually think, hey, this is actually nourishing me. Can I love the food that loves me back? Can I love the food that loves me back? That's a good starting point. And here's another like good kind of rule of thumb. I like to ask myself, like, how many steps is this from the sun? Because ultimately we're on the earth, right? Our ultimate power source is the sun. That's where all the energy comes from. Grow the food and all the grass, that the cows eat the grass and then they make their, bodies grow and then we eat the hamburgers. So how many steps is this from the sun? If it's a plant, it's only one step from the sun. If it's meat, fresh meat, organic meat, it's 2 steps from the sun. Once it starts going into factories and boxes, then there's a lot of steps away from the sun. So that's a really simple rule of thumb to think, okay, how many steps is this from the sun? If I want to be vitally alive and full of energy, how can I fill myself up with things that will actually love me back, that will actually energize me? And so that's a good, simple little rule of thumb to think. And then the other one is thinking about, we're good, is thinking about the small steps, because this isn't an all or nothing, I'm either bad or I'm good scenario. This is my feelings inside my body. And I have good feelings and happy feelings, and I also have sad feelings and stressful feelings. But all of these feelings are actually in here, right? So it's not just stress, it's also joy. And so if we think about changing our behaviour on the surface, like doing the flexibility, maybe it's stretching before while you're watching TV. There's these really cool things called habit stacking that I want you to think about. Think about a habit that you'd like to add into your life. Something small, because we're going to do small steps. What's a small step that you would like to make just a habit of I just always do this because this is who I am. I brush my teeth. What's a habit? Give me one. I walk the dog. I walk the dog every day. Perfect. And so when you're thinking about walking the dog, when do you walk the dog? Morning and night. And it becomes of course. Then it doesn't need any willpower because it's just of course. It's just a part of who you are. And it's not a stretch to do it because it's a part of who you are. And so I want you to think about expanding your comfort zone to include more things that nourish you, more things that mobilize you, more things that light you up, right? We want to expand our comfort zone, and it just like if you put in more good things, it actually just starts to crowd out the not so good things. And so we don't have to then beat ourselves into submission. We can actually just start to fill in more good things, more joy. Because when you start to do these good things and go, oh, I'm going to love the food that loves me back, I'm going to eat more apples and salads and beautiful veggie stews, then you start to feel good. Things start moving, right? And so you have more fibre, and then suddenly you have less gut issues because things are moving, right? So when you're feeling good and actually just putting more good things in, then there's just less room for all the other stuff. So let's again take a deep breath. Just put lots of oxygen, like fill up your lungs. Like sit up straight, everybody, sit up straight. And just fill up your lungs. Like, so often we don't even breathe all the way into our lungs. We just kind of do this kind of shallow breathing. So no wonder our brains don't work properly and we don't have full energy. It's like, just do a couple like this. Do you want a little breath work hack? Simple? Really simple. It's just a shape. It's 3 shapes. I learnt this from an awesome breathwork teacher, not the intense Wim Hof dude, who, if you're into that, that's great. But if you think about the breath like a circle, right? There's the in-breath and the out-breath, the in-breath and the out-breath. The circle breath is just in, out, no pause. And so the circle breath is just the daily breath. And that's our autonomic function, right? Our breath, we're just breathing all the time. We don't have to think about it. But when we can make it conscious, we can take charge of it for a minute. And that's the only autonomic function that we can take conscious control of. This is our like biohack button. So when you're stressed, we want to reduce the stress bucket. We want to let the plug out of the stress bucket so that we like just let it out, right? Let the bath out of all the stress so that we've got more space inside, right? And so if you want more space inside, let's have some more space inside. And so let's do 5 circle breaths like this, big breaths. Just in your own time, whatever count feels good for you. Notice how it feels to just fill yourself up with space. You might even start to feel a little bit lightheaded. You guys are sitting down, but it's good. I've got this to hold on to. Do you feel good? Good, that's one. We've got more space inside. We've already released stress. Simple, but useful. The simple things are it's the simple things that work. So then we go the triangle breath, right? So we go in, out, pause. So let's do a couple of those. In, out, pause. Just pause on the emptiness. Not hold, just pause. And then in and out. Just as long as you feel comfortable. And then in and out and pause. You don't need to count numbers, you just draw a triangle in your mind and just notice the pause. We're not holding, we're not stressing, we're just pausing. And then we breathe in when we feel like it. And so that's another way. So the circle breath moves emotion. You can do really fast circle breaths like this. Give yourself a head spin. If you get really stressed, that can be a good thing. If you're really tired, That can be a good thing. You can like hyper-oxygenate your blood and give yourself energy. I just did it then, like, woo! Okay, so maybe instead of a coffee, you can hyper-oxygenate for a second. Do it with me just for a second. Pant like a dog. Even though you feel silly, that's even better, because then you could just feel like a child again. Yay! Right? And so then we go triangle breath. In, out, pause. If you struggle falling asleep, this is a good breath pattern to think about, right? In, out, pause. So the pauses, the circles help us move our state. The pauses help us stabilize and expand into the new state. And so then we do the classic one. This one's got famous, right? The box breath. In, pause, out, pause. So let's do a couple of those. We're good. Just notice how it feels to pause on full lungs. And then release. And notice how it feels to pause on empty lungs. And in. And fill yourself up and notice how it feels to pause when you're just totally full. And luxuriate in your full lungs. And then release. And pause. So this is a simple, like if you can remember the shapes, you're good. You don't need to do any counting or craziness. If you can remember the shapes and draw the shapes in your mind, that is a way you can reduce your internal pain. And so here's, oh, luckily that has a lid on. Wow, my thing's getting crazy. So here's the thing, instead of doing these giant leaps, we want to do small steps. Small step for mankind, right? We're going to do one little step. If we start down here, we go one little step and then we feel better. And then we do another little step and then we feel better. Then we do another little step and then we feel better. Right? It's not rocket science, but it's quite tricky to do when you're coming up against unconscious patterns. It's tricky to remember when you're hijacked by what's at the bottom of the iceberg and what's at the bottom of this barrel down here, because that's what's at the bottom of the iceberg, right? So it's the small steps. Small step forward. Every time you come to the gym, whoop, tick, feel good, oh yeah. And so the other thing I'd love to just invite you to do, and I'm going to encourage your trainers to support you in this, is really celebrating every small step. We need to beat the inner critic with an inner cheerleader. You're welcome, if your inner cheerleader is no good, you're welcome to borrow my inner cheerleader. She's very enthusiastic. It's like, yes! Woohoo! You did it! Great job! Woohoo! You had a glass of water before you drank your coffee. Woohoo! I know it sounds ridiculous, but it'll stick in your head. I want you to celebrate the small things, because celebrating the small things is what makes the big things anyway. Right? Celebrating the small things is what makes life matter. That's all there is, really. Your life is just all small things, a whole bunch of small things put together. And so I'd love to encourage you to make this space, only you guys can do it. I can't do it because I'm not here, I live out in Cronulla, right? I'd love to be here. I'm sorry, Steve, but it's a bit too far to travel, right? But only you guys can do it. Make this space a space of celebration, a space of inner joy, where you're like, I'm not dragging myself to the gym because I feel crap, but I'm choosing to go to the gym because I nourish myself here. And I high five with my trainer every time we finish the set, and we celebrate in our own unique way. You don't need to do it my way, you do it your way, right? Maybe it's Maybe it's just a little subtle fist bump or something like that, you know, maybe a high five at the end. Whatever is your way of celebrating, right? Can you think of something like that that you'd love to do to just make this a space of celebration? So every time you walk in the door, you start to get the good feelings.
I think within this business that there already is that feeling, and I think that's something that I do.
Right? It's so good, and these guys are so great. It's so that, you know, they make it a fun place to be. And yes, we know that the first few minutes of exercise are difficult. Your blood vessels haven't dilated. It's tricky and hard, but the good feelings are worth it. And the other thing that really brings pleasure into your life, it's so simple that you miss it, right? It's presence. It's looking people in the eyes. It's taking a pause to just like, hey, human contact, you know? Like, we're wired for human contact. And when we forget that, we can easily fall into social isolation and, you know, feeling alone in our houses and getting really busy in our heads and in our phones and in our newspapers and our work. But what actually brings joy and makes life worth living is the presence with the people that we get to do it with. So that then allows us to do the things and gives us the fuel to do the hard things. Right? And so then we can start to affirm, every time we celebrate, I want you to think, I can do this. Like, yeah, I can do this. I've got this. And so the habit stacking is just adding the thing that you want to bring in to something that you're already doing. Right? Like, woohoo, I had a glass of water before I drank my coffee. I'm not saying don't drink coffee, or don't drink wine or champagne, right? Have the champagne. And also drink some water, right? Because then you're adding in the good things. And that's all it takes, is just a little bit of good things to get us moving in the right direction, and then all of the other things become easier. All right, I've already gone over time. Sorry, I get too enthusiastic. I can't help myself. Thank you. Has this been useful for you guys? Is there something that you've taken away that you can utilise? Do you feel better than when you walked in? So
I think so much of our focus when you come through the doors is physical, but we're aware that so much of those decisions behind the scene are probably emotional or mental, and there's a lot of ideas that are probably a little bit new today, but we just want to encourage you to have a bit more holistic approach to your health, and any ways that we can sort of help support you in that, we'd love to do so. And massive
amazing.
Thank you again to Kylie for helping us out
Thanks
today.
for sticking around. Thanks for being a part of it. Thank you.